Former number one overall pick Bryce Young is back in the saddle as the number one quarterback on the Carolina Panthers, at least for 1 week. And folks, how did we get here? I don't know how many folks have followed this story. Yesterday, news broke while I was at work that Andy Dalton was involved in a crash. News started fluttering in. It was late afternoon. People had pictures. First of all, the fan paparazzi is ridiculous. The fact that this got out there as quickly as it did, probably quicker than he was even able to file with his insurance. That's how fast this thing happened. And people had pictures. I don't know, man. I don't know how people recognized him. Maybe it was just the fact it was an accident. And then someone posts a photo and someone says, oh, wait, I know who that is. No idea. But people were so connected that the news broke. People were analyzing the pictures, thinking that he messed up his left hand. Well, we get an update today from Dave Canales that it was his thumb, and it was his throwing hand thumb. So on his right hand, it was a sprain, and I guess it was enough for him to miss time this week. Now, Dave Canales, during the presser when he was announcing this, said that they are still evaluating him as the potential number 2 quarterback. So you do have Plummer, who could be called and elevated up in the event that Andy Dalton is unable to go. But that does tell me that this likely is not severe, thankfully, knock on wood. And I will tell you, Andy Dalton and his family, as it has been reported, is safe, which is all good news. Safe, no major injuries, did not get taken to the hospital or anything like that. But it does bring into question now the state of Bryce Young and his opportunity. And I got to tell you, it's not a great opportunity. If we're being honest, when you look at the Denver Broncos and the Denver Broncos defense, which we're going to talk about them, we're going to preview that later in this week. Hey, tag that on there. Subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. Calling all Panthers fans and Broncos fans if you want to tune in, or NFL fans. Bryce Young's got a tall task right in front of him. And again, the number 1 overall pick, who has not looked like the number 1 overall pick, that did deserve the benching earlier in the year. He's got a chance. We'll put it in I kind of as a question mark. I don't know. Maybe it's a chance. Maybe it's not. I talked all about this coming into this year as a make or break season for Bryce Young. And some folks are like, oh, it's not make or break. This is the most make or break game for Bryce Young in his tenure as the Carolina Panthers, because what's going to happen is either he does really well, maybe, or he does really bad. And like, this is it. And I know it's like, oh, it's one sample size. And maybe if Dalton is not ready for next week, he'd have another week against a terrible New Orleans Saints team who's just as bad as us, but not as bad because we are the worst team in the NFL right now. So you do potentially have 2 games here if you're Bryce Young, but you better go out there and show folks that you have got it. And I don't really care about trade value at the moment because I've talked about that. I don't care about the audition for him to get out there. We just want to see, can Bryce Young, who has sat out, 5 games now? The Panthers sit at 1-6. He looked so bad in the first 2 weeks. Andy Dalton comes in, kind of looks like a savior for a little bit. We've seen Bryce Young now in garbage time a few times. And hey, he's made some plays. Then he's also not made some plays. And so we're going to get to see it for a full game. This is his opportunity. And I've got to tell you, if you are a Panthers fan, you should be pulling for him, because I've already explained in numerous other videos how if he does not pan out, if he just doesn't work, how far this will set this team back. We really want to see him be successful. Hey, just be successful. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, what are my expectations? We are hearing that Adam Thielen is working his way back. I don't know if he's going to be ready. We know that Jonathan Brooks is in the waiting. He's already been activated, but not officially moved on to the roster yet to be available. So we're waiting to, he just had his window opened up last week. I look for them to rely heavily on the running game. And is he going to have Tommy Tremble? We've seen Jatavian Sanders come alive. We've seen Deontay Johnson, who's had some choice words at the end of the game the other day at the press conference that he can't play every position. So maybe does he end up getting moved out of here? Who knows? We talk about all that in other videos, but we're here to talk about Bryce Young. So this is a big game, folks. It is a huge game for our man Bryce, and I am pulling for him. I'm rooting for him. I really do hope we go out here and maybe, I don't know what 5 games can do. I don't know if 5 games is enough. I don't know if a season would have worked, but you have really what's this whole thing. You have Dave Canales through this situation who has continued to go on record and say everything related to Bryce Young and him coming back and starting is hypothetical. It's hypothetical. It's hypothetical. Well, it's real now. And he did not even want to mention his name. He's always said it's Andy Dalton's team. Andy Dalton's the starting quarterback. I mean, just right before this incident on Monday, that's what he said. And then we come out of this, and now Bryce Young's your quarterback, and he wants to start talking positively about him. It's a complete 180. I just hope the staff hasn't given up on him, because you really have to have that belief in the building if you're going to go out there and be able to perform. And I hope, for Bryce's sake, we get to see him just unleash it. You have no pressure, to be honest. Your team's terrible. So go out there, have some fun. If you make mistakes, you make mistakes. Hopefully they're not amplified mistakes and mistakes that are costly. But maybe you can find some of the magic that we've seen against the Texans, that we saw against Green Bay. Or who knows, maybe you just go out there and the team runs the ball so effectively and we just play some solid defense to try to get the win. I don't think the Carolina Panthers have ever won in Denver. So they got that going against them too. Anyways, folks, that's going to do it. We'll have all this to talk about and more previewing the game coming up later this week. But until then, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.